My name is Deborah Bush, and I am in the Patient Prism studio with Dr. Barry Polansky, a dentist from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, with 45 years of experience in solo dental practice. And Dr. Polansky is an author of several books for dentists and cares deeply about the well-being of dentists and the well-being of a practice and a whole life. So this morning, in the wake of his new book, just being released by Wiley Blackwell, called The Complete Dentist, I'd like to start by saying that we commonly speak about the patient story, learning the patient story, working with the patient story. But this morning, I want to start with, what is the dentist's story? Now, Barry, from your perspective.
Well, I mean, the human brain can only use the information the way we're given it in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, we try to bring in all of this knowledge, but the brain likes to make a story or a narrative out of it. And that's how we understand it. The common vernacular is that we're wired for story.
Yes.
You see? And we think in story, we think in narrative. That's why most of the time when we watch the nightly news or we watch TV or go to the movies, it's always about the story. So many years ago, I became a fan of Joseph Campbell, the mythologist.
Right.
And he was the one who opened my eyes to what is story all about and why is it important, and the common theme of or the common narratives that occur throughout the world through myths. The myths we lived by was one of his most famous books. But the point is that we all have a story.
We all have a story.
And so it always concerned me about what was my story. And did I have the power to change that story? Or was it predestined? And there comes that word of control again.
Yes.
And so I decided, and I think Professor Campbell would have agreed, that we all take our own particular hero's journey. And so if you're familiar with the hero's journey, you know that we're born, and then we go through our lives, and we have our everyday lives, and then something happens. Okay, whatever it is in your particular life, even our patients and our families, something happens. Now, things happen every day, but sometimes what those things happen are a crack up, as some kind of incident that causes you to question things, and Campbell was called that's a call. You've been called to change or continue to do the same thing you've been doing. And there are plenty of people who refuse to take the call.
So they continue doing what they've always
Absolutely.
been doing.
And not much changes. Change is tough.
Change is tough.
Because with change comes the second part of the journey. That's the struggle. And I had my years of struggle where I had to really work hard at changing things, changing the story. And then you learn lessons along the way. You meet people along the way. You meet mentors, you meet guides, and you also meet, the dark forces.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, if you ever watched Star Wars, I mean, that's all.
There was dark forces.
Yeah, that's all metaphor.
And even in dentistry, there are the dark forces.
I mean, here's Luke, our hero, and he goes around, and the first one he meets is Obi-Wan, okay,
Right.
and he hands him the Force. It's all metaphor.
It's all metaphor.
Yeah, and then he meets Darth. So the dark forces, and he struggles and struggles. That first Star Wars movie was in 1975 or something like that.
Early.
Now it's 2017, and we're beginning to see Luke come back, and that's the point. If you do reach the top of this mountain or the end of this journey, you really haven't, because now you've been handed the prize, whatever the prize is. And it's your job, if you so choose to accept this mission, okay, to come back into the world from which you came and bring the prize with you and basically teach it to others.
Okay, so it's a journey,
yes,
and it's a call, it's time of struggle,
the lessons,
the lessons you learn, and then the boon.
And then a boon, right?
Right, and then it goes back internally.
So So the lessons you see, it's interesting because looking at Star Wars is a good example of the hero's journey. When you begin to look at that, you realize that going into space and fighting the wars and all of that. That's the external story. That's what's happening in the outer world.
Right.
But something's happening inside of Luke throughout this whole thing. So where he starts this story and where he ends it, Luke's a different person.
Okay.
You see? And so I can tell you right now, in my own life, looking back, it's a great place to be when you're looking back. That the person who's sitting here today is certainly a different person that was sitting, who would have been sitting here without me taking on the call.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what's important. And if it sounds like a fairy tale, that's fine.
That's fine.
But and if you think this is all a bunch of bunk, that's fine too. Go ahead and live your life the way it is. How's that working out for you? I'm 70 years old. I look back at some of my friends who didn't accept the call. And if you don't accept it after a certain age, and you're just not going to accept it, and
It means
that's
you're not
fine.
going to change.
Yeah, live your
You
life.
do the way you do things.
Yeah, live your life.
You are where you are.
It's okay. But if issues come up and your life isn't, the story of your life isn't what it's what you'd like it to be, you have a chance to change it. It gets smaller and smaller as you get older.
Okay.